Hi everybody, my name is Sandra. Welcome to your practice. This is a prenatal class, and what you need is 2 blocks or something that is of similar shape, and a blanket can come very useful to pad your knees if your knees need padding, or to cover yourself in Shavasana. And it would also be nice if you could get hold of a couple of pillows during Shavasana. Again, they can come very useful. So we start in a seated position. You want to sit on your heels. And if this is not available to you because of pain in your knees or whatever reason, you can separate your feet a little bit wider and simply sit down on a block you put in between your feet, 1 or 2 blocks. So find a comfortable seat, having your hands rest on your knees or on your thighs, and allow your eyes to fall closed to begin with. So allowing yourself a few moments to turn inward and to let the day fade into the background. As you draw your attention a little bit more carefully to the breath, coming and going at the tip of your nose. Massaging your body from the inside. And then you can place one hand on your belly and the other hand onto your heart. And invite your baby quietly to your yoga practice. Reminding yourself that everything you experience during pregnancy, you don't experience just on your own, but you share it with someone. And then release your hands back onto your legs and open your eyes. And then from here we do a few cat and cow moves. So as you exhale next time, you slide your hands forward towards your knees and let your head hang rounding your shoulders. Drawing the navel gently in, and really depending on the size of your belly, you might not want to take the curve too much into the lower back, but rather into the upper back. So tilt the pelvis a little bit less backwards than you usually do. Now on your next inhale, slide your hands towards your groins, reverse the curvature of your spine and lift your heart. On your exhale, round your spine again, head is heavy, spread the shoulder blades wide. Inhale, slide your hands back, lift your heart, roll the shoulders back. Exhale, rounding your spine, navel draws in, spread the shoulder blades. And then inhale, reverse the whole thing, lifting your heart. One last time, mobilizing the spine as we synchronize with the breath. And then we come slowly to upright, from where we sit onto the right side of our feet. So I'm not mirroring you, so only so that you're aware of that. Your feet are to your left. So you can upright your spine now as good as it goes. If you need a block to sit upon, please do so. Now on your inhale, sweep your arms out to the sides and up. And then as you exhale, place your left hand onto the floor and reach your upper arm across the room into a beautiful side bend. So you want to make sure your left shoulder relaxes away from the ear, and you spiral your chest up as your upper arm really straightens. You can lift that right shoulder a little bit higher towards the ear, so we get a little bit more into the side seam of our body, and breathe into the side rib cage. On your next inhale, come slowly back to center. And then as you exhale, sit on the other side. So your feet on the right side of your buttocks right now. As you inhale, sweep your arms out and up. On your exhale, bring your right hand flat onto the floor or fingertips, and spiral your chest up as you reach through your upper arm. So your upper elbow is straight, and you can play with lifting that left shoulder higher towards the ear. to make sure that we get a little bit more into the side seam of the body. On your next inhale, come slowly back to center. Place your hands in front of you, knees underneath your hips, and step your hands a little bit further to the front so we come into puppy pose, where your forehead can rest on the floor. Your hips are more or less above the knees. Don't be confused with child's pose. And make sure that your arms are really elongated. Press your hands flat into the floor. Feel the shoulder blades firm against your back rib cage and encourage breathing into the side ribs again. Face can soften. So during the rest of the class, you can always substitute dog pose with puppy pose, especially during later pregnancy. We want to reduce inversions, and dog is considered an inversion, so you might do puppy pose instead, or child's pose even. Now on your next exhale, sit back in child's pose, and here we have the knees, for obvious reasons, wider than usual to accommodate the belly. And then from here, come straight to tabletop position. Hands underneath your shoulders, knees underneath the hips. Spread your fingers really wide. And then step the left knee a bit closer to the midline, so you extend your right leg then parallel to the floor, pushing through your heel. Make sure your right hip point isn't any higher than the left hip, so the hips are squared with the floor. Lengthen the tail a little bit so you hug your baby in, so we're not collapsing in the lower back. And then reach, maybe if you want to add your opposite arm, reach through your fingertips, left fingertips. And the palm faces to the right side from an external shoulder rotation. And then we just circle at the ankle and the wrist a little bit to bring circulation to these areas as well. Change direction, circle the other way. And then place your left hand onto the floor, right hand to the outside of your right foot. Come to upright. You can help yourself with your right hand pushing down into the knee, hands to hips. Proposal pose, where the front foot is underneath the knee and the back knee is underneath the hip, 90 degrees between thighs and shins. Now with your hands on the hips, lengthen the tailbone a little bit more down and draw the front foot and the back knee towards each other without having them move really, but that throws the stretch a little bit more into the hip flexor. Lift your heart. A cycle of breath here. Before you bend forward and place your hands, probably blocks can be very useful depending on the size of your belly and the range of motion in your hamstrings as you extend your right leg into half pyramid pose, slightly angled to the sides, again to accommodate the belly. So imagine you had a string attached to your left sit bone, pulling that sit bone back. So we square the hips with the front edge of the yoga mat. And we want to roll those shoulders back and make sure that we maintain this natural curvature in the lower back. Maybe that means you need to come higher up. Hands can also go to the hips. And for the last few cycles of breath, make sure you push that right foot into an imaginary wall and maybe even spread the toes wide. Face remains relaxed. As we walk the blocks forward to the front, maybe slide the back knee a little bit further back. You can keep your hands on blocks, or if the floor is not too far away, bring the fingertips on the floor. So sink deep in those hips and have the right knee point straight to the front. Roll the shoulders back, broaden the collarbones to make sure that you have enough space to breathe in the chest. And then step your knee back and let's meet in puppy pose again. So you slide your hands to the front, forehead rests on the floor. And feel the shoulder blades again, how they're firm against your back rib cage, and you really spread those fingers super wide. And then sit back in child's pose just for a moment, from where you transition back to table. Hands underneath your shoulders. And you bring the right knee more to the midline, so you extend your left leg parallel to the floor, pushing through the back heel and squaring the hips with the floor. Again, the navel draws a tiny bit in, so we're hugging the baby in. and not just collapsing in the lower back or the belly, having the belly sink completely down. Maybe you want to reach through your opposite arm. If you do so, make sure your palm faces the left as we externally rotate that shoulder, and then we circle at the ankle and wrist. Changing direction. Placing that right hand onto the floor, step the left foot to the outside of your front hand, and then help yourself to upright by pressing that hand into your thigh. Hands go to the hips again, reminding the tailbone to sink down in our proposal pose. 90 degrees between both thighs and shins. Right? So the front foot and the back knee sort of draw towards one another to gently intensify the opening in our right psoas muscle. Lift your heart and continue breathing. From where you lean forward, again, you are very welcome to use blocks underneath your hands. Extend your left leg, pushing through that left heel. You want to spread the toes wide if you can, so you feel the air in between your toes. And encourage length in the whole spine. So reach your sit bones far back in space. As you roll the shoulders back, collarbones broaden. You have space to breathe in your chest. And then walk your hands forward, front knee bends, and see whether the back knee can slide a bit back. See how much space there is in your hips as you let your pelvis drape down. Making sure we're not overstretching. So we so easily overstretch during pregnancy due to hormonal changes. So make sure that you respect that and don't go too deep. The front knee is still pointing forward. Now from here, you either come back to puppy pose or you transition into downward facing dog where you curl the toes under, lift your knees away from the floor and roll the sit bones high towards the sky. And your stance is a little bit wider in down dog than it usually is. So a little bit more than hip width probably. Again, it really depends where you are, what point you are in your pregnancy. The knees bend, so you have more space to lengthen the lower back. And then from here, let's do some walking and bicycling moves. Bending one knee after the other, straightening the opposite leg, where we allow the rib cage to turn and twist and kind of take part of that whole body massage we are giving ourselves. Gazing from one armpit underneath the other. And then come back to center. Rolling the sit bones high, moving the chest towards your thighs as you reach your arms high above your head. And then see how far you can straighten the legs without letting this have any effect in the length of your lower back. Maybe your knees need to stay bent a little bit, and that's just totally fine. Now rock forward to plank pose on your inhale. You can always bring those knees to the floor. Later during pregnancy, you definitely want to do that. And of course, we don't want to overdo core work, but again, you hug the baby in. On your next exhale, roll the sit bones high, downward facing dog. Have a few cycles of breath here. Settling into the pose. Breath is flowing freely. Reminding yourself child's pose is always an option. On your next inhale, rock forward to plank pose again. Bring your knees to the floor. Toes stay curled under. As you slide your hands back towards your knees, come onto your knees now to upright. And place your hands with your fingertips either facing up or down on the sacrum. Camel pose. So you roll those shoulders back, harness your elbows in, and push your hands into your sacrum so the pelvis moves forward in space. as you lift your heart. And it's not necessary to throw the head really back. So if that's uncomfortable, the neck rather gaze to the front or slightly towards the ceiling. And then draw the navel a tiny bit in. So we come to upright again. Place your fingertips in front of you on the floor. Lift your knees away from the floor. And transition into your standing forward bend where the feet are more than hip width apart, so you accommodate the belly. Knees can soften, but just allow the upper body to drape down and hang. And then from here on your inhale, come into half standing forward bend, resting your hands on your thighs or your shins, depending on the space you have. And then bend at the knees, push your hands into your thighs, help yourself to upright, to standing, growing tall. From where we meet, now at the very top of the yoga mat. Feet want to be parallel, and again a little bit wider than we usually have the feet. Hip distance apart, where we open the palms to face the front, spreading the fingers wide. On your next inhale, reach your arms out and up for a few half sun salutations, and then exhale, bring your hands down. Bring your hands onto your sacrum, fingertips point down. Lift your heart as you inhale, harness your elbows a bit more in, and on your exhale, drape halfway forward and massage your hands down the backs of your thighs from where you find your half standing forward bend. And that can also be using blocks, right? Bringing your hands onto blocks. The hands can also be on your shins, on your thighs. If the belly isn't too big yet and you have enough space in your hamstrings, you can also bring those fingertips onto the floor. Now bend at those knees, and you can help yourself coming to upright by pushing your hands down onto your knees, and then straighten your legs, sweep your arms out and up, join the palms. Let's do that one more time, a bit more flowy. Sweep your arms out and up on your inhale. On your exhale, arms by the sides of your body, hands go to your sacrum, lift your heart, roll the shoulders back, inhale, and then drape halfway forward, massaging your hands down the backs of your thighs, finding your half standing forward bend. Having a few cycles of breath here, where you roll the shoulders back and move the sit bones back in space. Bend at those knees with or without support, with your hands pressing down on your knees. Sweep your arms out and up. Push the feet down. Release your arms. On your inhale, sweep your arms out and up. As you exhale, bring your hands onto your sacrum, fingertips down. Lift your heart as you roll the shoulders back. Exhale, drape halfway forward, massage your hands down the backs of your thighs. And once more, let's meet in our half standing forward bend, elongating the spine and legs. Now bend at the knees, step your right foot far back in a lunge, both hands on the inside of the front foot, and then rotate the back foot 90 degrees, windmill your arms up to warrior two, or use your hand to help yourself to upright. And now take a moment to adjust the stance. In pregnancy yoga, the stance is shorter than you usually have it, right? And we also don't necessarily need to bend the knee all the way so it comes above the ankle. Now reach through your fingertips. On your inhale, lift your arms and straighten your front leg for flying warrior. Exhale, push the air down, rebend the knee. Inhale, lift. Exhale, gently push it down. Inhale, lift your arms. And then rebend, stroke the air down. Your back leg is super active. Straighten your front leg, arms parallel now to the floor. And now to support the front knee, which we easily overstretch during pregnancy actually, we want to make sure that we ground the base of the front big toe down into the floor, which engages the calf muscle and supports or stabilizes the knee joint. Now reach forward into triangle pose. Reach forward and then down. The right hand either reaches high or hand goes to the hip. And you're welcome now to observe whether you're better off with the right hip point falling a little bit forward in space, rather than be too fixated on having the right hip point stack above the left. Make sure that you don't feel any tension and strain in your lower back and sacrum area. Rebend the front knee, warrior two. Inhale, lift your arms parallel the feet. And then as you exhale, open to your second side. Reaching through your fingertips and adjust the stance maybe again. So the front heel aligns with the arch of the back foot, right? On your inhale, lift your arms, straighten your front leg. On the exhale, gently push the air down, making sure the front knee points forward rather than falling inward. Lift, inhale, exhale, continue. Moving in your own breathing rhythm. Now the next time you inhale, straighten your front leg, reach through your fingertips. The front big toe grounds into the floor to stabilize the front knee. Reach forward before you lower down into triangle pose. The right shoulder blade drapes down the back rib cage. So the neck doesn't all disappear. We're not just collapsing in that shoulder. Rebend your front knee, warrior two. Inhale, lift your arms parallel the feet. Exhale, open to the first side again, where your left toes point to the front. And then windmill your arms down, lift the back heel, and walk the front foot to the side so we have space for our hands underneath the shoulder on the inside of the front leg. Lower the back knee to the floor as you lengthen the toes. And have the front foot now rotate like 45 degrees or so to the side. The knee flaps open, maybe the arch of the foot is lifting, and then we just explore the area by wiggling the pelvis and the hips. Just observe how much space there is. It's a sort of pigeon pose stretch. Being very careful again not to overstretch and overdo it. So pregnancy is definitely not a time where we want to be too fixated on our previous abilities, but we want to learn to really listen to what the body needs at the moment. And then come back to center. Curl the back toes under. Back leg straightens. Step it all the way to the front. And let's meet in our half standing forward bend against our hands to thighs, to shins, or to blocks. Elongating the spine. Crown is reaching forward as the sit bones reach back. Bend at those knees. Push the feet down with or without support of your hands on your knees. Come to upright. Sweep your arms out and up. Join the palms, exhale. Sweep your arms out and up as you inhale. On your exhale, release your arms down by the sides of your body. Place your hands on your sacrum, lift your heart and lean a little bit back as you roll the shoulders back. And then drape forward, spine stands elongated, stroke the hands down. Half standing forward bend. Having a cycle of breath here. Feel the feet grounding. The crown of your head is reaching across the room and your sit bones are reaching back. Bend at the knees, step your left foot back into a lunge, hands on the inside of the front foot. Turn and ground the back foot, windmill your arms up or help yourself to upright. Take a moment again to adjust the stance. Front heel aligns with the arch of the back foot. Reach through your fingertips, warrior two. So shoulders relax away from the ears. And now be aware that your front hip, the back hip point is not higher than the front hip point, but on the same height. So the sit bones, we could also talk about the sit bones, are equal distance away from the floor. Reach through your fingertips. And both feet are pushing down. Maybe a tiny bit more weight on the back foot. Tend to carry way too much weight in the front foot always. Internally rotate your arms, lower your arms down behind your back. Either get hold of your opposite side elbows or bring your palms together in hidden prayer. Making sure that the outside edge of the back foot is grounding. On your inhale, straighten your front leg. Ground the big front toe into the floor. And now lean your right shoulder forward, your pelvis tilts sideways, your spine follows, and then open your arms like wings. Left hand can of course go to the hip, triangle pose. Continue breathing here. Rebend the front knee, warrior two. On your inhale, lift your arms parallel the feet, and then open as you exhale with your left toes pointing to the front now. Allow yourself a few moments to adjust the stance maybe, and to make sure that your hips are level with the floor. Very often the right hip point, the back hip point is too high, and we need to encourage it to sink down. Now if you have any stretching, tearing sensation in your pubis or your sacrum, that means you need to bring the feet closer together. So really acknowledge that and do something about it rather than working with that sort of pain. Internally rotate your arms, lower your hands down behind your back, and if you get hold of your elbows or forearms, then on this side, walk your hand one step further to the front, right? So we alternate the cross. Or, if available, hidden prayer. Ground those feet. On your inhale, straighten your front leg. Ground the big front toe into the floor. Lean your left shoulder forward in space. Pelvis follows, spine follows. Open your arms. Triangle pose. And again, you're welcome. Actually, you should observe and explore how the positioning of your pelvis affects the well-being of your lower back. Maybe the upper hip point rolls a little bit forward. Rebend the front knee, warrior two. Inhale, lift your arms above your head, parallel the feet, and then open to the front again. Right toes point to the front where you windmill your arms down on your exhale. Back heel is lifting. Wiggle the front foot way further to the side. Lower the back knee down. And make sure that your shoulders are, your hands are underneath the shoulders and you have enough space for the belly, right? Maybe the foot needs to wiggle further to the side. Rotating the front foot 45 degrees open, and then let the knee flap open so the arch of the foot can even lift away from the floor, and then just wiggle a little bit. Exploring the area. And if you find a place that is really interesting and seems like a worthwhile place to stay in for a moment, do so. Again, we're not muscling through. We find a place that is interesting enough to not get bored, but not overwhelming. And then come slowly back to center. And on this side, we're stepping back into puppy pose or downward facing dog. Rolling the sit bones high and reaching through our arms. Encouraging breathing into the side ribs again for a few cycles of breath. Where we want to make sure again that we're not just carrying weight on the outer edge of our palms, but also grounding the base of the thumb and the base of the index finger. On your inhale, rock forward to plank pose. Lower the knees to the floor. Walk your hands back towards your knees. As you open them, wide to the sides. Lengthen the toes, so you sit back on your heels. And this is a moment where you might want to use a blanket underneath your knees, really. For your hands and arms are in a sort of upward facing dog shape. So they're straight, rolling the shoulders back. And here, again, there's no fixed rules with like with so many things where we are invited to explore. We can play with it a little bit, make tiny micro movements. For example, we can rock forward onto our hands a little bit more. Make sure you stick your butt out a little bit more, and then sit back a little bit again. So just a tiny forward and backward movement where we keep space in between the collarbones. And as you sit back again, maybe it can also be nice to tilt a little bit sideways, so the right hip rocks forward a little bit, getting a little bit more into the right adductor, right inner thigh, and then the left inner thigh. Keep it interesting, but not overwhelming. And then let's come back to center and find a place that seems like a good place to stay in for a few cycles of breath. And we're inhaling deeply through our nose, and then open your lips, releasing through your mouth. And just do that for a few cycles of breath. Deep inhale through your nose, in your nose, and letting go through your lips. And always trying, as we do that, and continue breathing like so, to encourage the natural lumbar curve. Last cycle of breath here. Before we slowly, very mindfully press your hands down, so you bring some weight onto your hands, bring the knees closer together. And now you can either swing your legs to the front, or you cross at your ankles like so and sit back, coming to a seat on your sit bones, where we meet in Baddha Konasana, bottom of your feet together. So if you now see that your knees are higher than your hips and you struggle uprighting the lower back, it's time to raise your seat. So you want to sit on a block or something. And we do a variation. We have the feet a little bit further to the front, so our legs are in a sort of diamond shape. Okay? And you pull a little bit back on your knees, which helps you to upright the lower back. So you roll to the tops of your sit bones, and then either stay as is, and if there's more space available, depending on the size of your belly or how open your hips are, you can now drape forward and sink down. So the forward tilt is initiated in the hips, but your upper body is allowed to round, and if available, the forehead can rest in the arches of your feet. But if they seem too far away, you can build something with blocks or pillows. So just be inquisitive. Having a few moments here. Where we are encouraged to breathe a little bit more deeply into the back of the rib cage, which is a breathing space that is available to us at the moment. So obviously there's less space now available in the tummy. And if the breathing space of your back ribs is not enough, acknowledge that and come higher up again. And if you're all the way folding forward and down, allow the shoulders to drape. Allow gravity to take over. Another 2 cycles of breath here. before we help ourselves, pushing the hands down, coming to upright. And before Shavasana, one final pose is supine twist, where there is not going to be pressure on the vena cava. So, of course, if it's uncomfortable for you to follow, then just come into Shavasana straight away, lying on the left side of your body. For those of you who want to join, you want to have a block or folded blanket pretty thick or pillow handy. Bend at the knees, roll down on your back, and we lie all the way down, extending the legs just for a moment, and then cross your left ankle on top of the right ankle with your legs being straight, right? And then you want to roll over to the right side of your body and place the block or whatever you're using underneath your left buttocks / sacrum. So find a place that is comfortable. Maybe the block is a little bit too firm, you observe. And then reach your left arm, your right arm across the room, so you're draping down, left shoulder blade grounds. This is a very gentle spinal twist. Where we might experience a little bit of more space to breathe now into the abdomen, especially the left side of the abdomen now might feel a little bit more open and spacious. So take advantage of the moment and see whether you can guide the breath a little bit more consciously into the left side, especially deeper into the abdomen of your body. Allowing your face to be soft and relaxed. And now come slowly out of this pose. Remove whatever it was you were using underneath your buttocks. Come back to center and cross your right ankle on top of your left now. Both legs stay straight. And then from here you want to roll over to the left side of your body and place the block underneath your right buttocks or your sacrum. Might need a little bit of time to find a place that works well. Now reach your arms across the room. Make sure that both shoulder blades drape down heavily into the floor. Maybe it feels nice to move that left shoulder blade a little bit further away from the spine if you notice that it got a little bit too tight there. And see if it feels nice now to guide the breath a little bit more carefully, consciously into the right side of your body, deeper down into the abdomen than you usually can, probably. Again, let gravity get hold of you. Before you slowly remove the block, preparing now for Shavasana, where we lie on the left side of our body, and you can now use the pillows and the blanket to make it all more comfortable. So I'm going to use the blanket as a pillow. Maybe you have another blanket to cover yourself. And the pillows go in between your thighs and shins. Right? So from here you find a comfortable position lying on the right side of your body. If it feels nice, you can also rest your right hand on the tummy. And allow yourself to let go in Shavasana. So allow the bones to release and let them drop towards the floor. Including the muscles that hug around the bones. Let them relax. And let your mind that hugs around thoughts or contracts around thoughts release and relax. And be open and spacious. Reminding yourself of your breath as the most imminent tool to cultivate a sense of presence whenever you notice your mind wandering off in thought. Now, if your schedule allows you to stay longer, please do so. Ignore my voice. All the others. Allow your inhale to be a little bit deeper and to deepen slightly. As you use your hands to help yourself come up into a comfortable seat, your eyes can stay closed and your head can still just drape down and be heavy as you walk your hands towards your legs, helping yourself to upright and find a comfortable seat. With your hands resting heavily on your knees or on your thighs. Taking another moment to turn inward and to observe how you're feeling right now. Without wishing for anything or wishing that things were maybe different. Now is just the time to recognize and to notice. And then see whether you can find a posture where you maybe find a little bit more space to breathe in your chest. Joining your palms in prayer. thumbs touching your breastbone. Acknowledging the good work you're doing as you carve out time in your busy day to practice and to take care both of yourself and your baby. Let your next inhale be a little bit deeper again. Opening your eyes as you exhale. Thanks for practicing. Namaste.